I'm Jacqui Felgate, and a very warm welcome to Luke Darcy, Joe Stanley, Dr. Nick Carr. Hello, guys.
Hey, Jack, how are you?
I can't believe we're already halfway through the year.
Which is the perfect time to check in on ourselves, really see how we're going, because what's on the inside matters.
It's such a good point, Joe. Today's show is focusing on gut health, which I think is actually one of your special subjects, Joe.
For some reason, thanks to Darcy here, I am the self-appointed expert on gut health, and that's because you really know when your gut isn't treating you well. It gives you a pretty bad day, and I think everyone around you as well.
You're ahead of your time on that, Joe, and the research backs up the link between our brain and our gut is irrefutable. Now, having said that, starting the day with a coffee is my routine. I'm not sure that's great for your gut health, but that's what I do.
Well, I don't know, but Luke Hines also has the same love of his morning heart starter, and today he investigates the national obsession by discovering edible coffee cups.
He's also going to check out a variety of different milks. Did you know you can now get camel milk? How gross. I'm sorry. We're also going to take a look at going with your gut. You know that feeling that you get when you just know that something isn't quite right?
Yeah, or the flip side, when you've got those butterflies in your stomach because you're a little bit excited or happy. Should we trust those gut feelings? Well, according to neuroscientist Joel Pearson, absolutely.
This is the entrance to my apartment building car park. There's a roller door behind me that you can only access with a remote. And if you do happen to force your way in, it sets off an ear-piercing siren. Now, it all seems pretty secure, right? But one day, as I was leaving for work early, as I was pulling out, I had a feeling something wasn't quite right. That's me pulling out of the garage at the crack of dawn. But before the door has time to close, this guy manages to sneak in with his sights firmly set on my brand new e-bike. Now, I didn't see him sneaking in, but as I drove away, I had this overwhelming urge to go back inside and investigate. So I pulled over and went back in. Unfortunately, this guy is far too slick for me. Just as I'm about to return, he scurries off, leaving a piece of cardboard wedged in the gate. I have a quick look around, shut the roller door and head back to my car. And as soon as the coast is clear, the thief comes back to finish what he started. It may not have been enough to save my bike, but my gut instinct turned out to be 100% correct. So what's the deal? Was it a lucky guess? Do I have magic powers? Nope. It turns out that these gut feelings are based in cold, hard science.
So when I first tell people we're studying intuition, the elephant in the room is, what do I mean by that, right? I don't mean something woo-woo, something magical. I don't mean tapping into the universal energy of the planet or anything like that. And I say I'm a neuroscientist, and we come at this from a very neuroscientific perspective, and that we can understand and define intuition from everything we already know in psychology and neuroscience.
8 years ago, Professor Joel Pearson set out to prove the existence of human intuition by manipulating the relationship between the mind and the eyes.
It's pretty simple. So if I'm looking at you, for example, and I put my hand up in front of one of my eyes, what this eye sees the hand, the other eye sees you. Now, if I make this hand very bright and flickering, then it will dominate, it'll win the battle, and whatever's in the other eye will be completely unconscious. So if I put a picture in this eye of, say, a banana or an apple, and I have a bright flickering pattern in the other eye, I'll never see the apple or the banana. But here's the thing, my brain will still be processing it. My eye will process it, it'll send the information back to my visual cortex, and it'll still respond. And if I put an emotional image to my eye, say a spider or a snake or something, that'll all happen, plus the emotional parts of my brain will be active. So I call that emotional inception. You're going to see a whole lot of flickering bright colours on one side.
As Joel used a stereoscope to plant emotionally stimulating images into the subconscious minds of his volunteers, he asked them to perform simple decision-making tasks on a computer, and he found it didn't take long for the information he was secretly feeding them to directly influence their decisions.
Over, let's say, 10 or 20 trials, their brain starts to learn to use the information. So it gets better and better. Their choices get more accurate, they respond more quickly, and when we ask them how confident they are, they're more confident in these decisions. When we first discovered this, we were like, oh my gosh, wow, like the brain is simultaneously fusing these two data streams, one conscious, one unconscious, together. So it's using the unconscious emotional information and improving the conscious stream of information to improve decisions. Intuition is the learnt use of unconscious information for better decisions and actions. So the example I often give is you walk into a cafe, right? You're going to buy a cup of coffee and you step through the front door. And in that second, when you enter the front door, you get a feeling, right? And maybe it's, this place is good, or maybe not so much. Let's go to the cafe across the road. And so what's happening in that moment you walk through the door? So your brain's processing all the different cues in the environment. Maybe it's the music, the temperature, the tablecloths, how trendy the staff look, the shape of the coffee machine, how clean the floor is, but 100 other things. And through all the times you visited cafes before in your life, your brain has learnt which things in the cafe environment predict good coffee or bad coffee. So that second you're walking into the cafe there, all that learning is triggered and your brain's red flagging or green flagging different things in the environment. You're not consciously, logically thinking through, oh, this, therefore that, therefore this, we should go somewhere else. It's a feeling. And your body is tapping into that unconscious response and you're feeling that physiological response in your body. So with Luke's example, I think it's a great example of intuition in action, so I love it. What I would say is when he was down there, his brain would have been processing a ton of things, right? And so over his life, his brain's learned lots of things, you know, what's safe, what's unsafe, what's secure, what's unsecure. And a few things out of all that were red flagging in his brain. And he wouldn't have necessarily known what they were, but that results in this sort of, this funny feeling, this gut response, right? He felt it, he came back in to check.
Joel's research suggests that a lot of the time it really is a good idea to listen to your gut. But he's quick to point out that we need to be mindful of how and when we pay attention to these feelings.
If you've never played chess before, you can't sit down and be an intuitive chess player. Your brain has to learn the patterns, it needs to learn which array of pieces on the board predict what things. And so you need to give your brain enough exposure to whatever it is before you can trust your intuition. If you're scared of getting on an aeroplane, that's anxiety about flying, that's not your intuition. If you're stressed, anxious, emotional, suffering from anxiety or depression, it's not a good time to trust intuition. And you shouldn't. You should try and get your physiological state back down to a baseline if you can, before you want to trust intuition. And it's really important that people don't confuse the feeling of intuition with something that's addictive, right? So with your drugs, your alcohol, including food, but also behavioural things like gambling or social media or checking email. The pull towards those addictive things can feel a lot like intuition, but it's not intuition. It's nuanced, but it's not that complex. They can learn when to trust it and when not to trust it. And if you do that, you can improve your decision-making. You can sort of bring in the cognitive, the logical, and the emotional sides together and make overall better decisions.
I can't believe Heinzie came so close to a situation that could have ended really badly.
Yeah, it was scary for him, wasn't it, Joe? I think all of us have had that experience before where you know something's not quite right. It's almost like a sixth sense, and that sense can literally save your life.
Yeah, well, talking not so much about saving lives, Darcy, as life expectancy, because Australia now has one of the longest life expectancies in the world, because the average woman in Australia today can expect to live to 85.
Good to know.
And then 81.
Well, and this is what's happening right around the world, isn't it, Dr. Nick? That life expectancy is increasing for about 5 years extra in men, 4 years in women over the next 3 decades.
Yeah, and it's a good point, Jack. And of course, the biggest change is in the less fortunate countries who have a lower life expectancy as they start to catch up with the developed countries. And the change really is because of advances in medicine and improvements in nutrition.
Well, it is so wonderful that, touch wood, we get to enjoy this beautiful planet a little bit longer. But of course, that's a reminder that we need to care for this planet so it too can have a long and healthy life.
You're exactly right, Joe. And that brings me to landfill. Did you know over 1 billion coffee cups are chucked into landfill every single year?
That's a horrific number when you say that out loud. And when you think one styrofoam container takes literally 500 years to fully break down.
And actually even longer when it goes to landfill.
And we all got used, Nick, to bringing our keep cups to the coffee shop, but Heinzie caught up with one Melbourne establishment that's taken it one step further, coffee cups that you can literally eat.
It's definitely surprising, like kids love it because it's just hilarious having an edible cup. It makes no sense, but it's not a lolly. It's delicious once you start cracking into it.
It's coffee served with a crunch.
Welcome. I'm so excited for this.
It's the Good Eddie, Australia's first edible coffee cup, and it's helping Aussies ditch their addiction to single-use plastics.
Well, the Good Eddie cups are made from a business that's really local. At Ceres, we try and develop the best green practices we can. So with the coffees we were doing during lockdown, there was a real problem because it all had to be takeaway at one point. So in order to solve that issue, the guys at Good Eddie came up with the edible cup, and it was groundbreaking.
Every day in Australia, over 2.7 million coffee cups go into landfill. The Good Eddie is an edible, biodegradable, plastic-free alternative to the standard polyethylene-lined paper cups.
Tell me, how is it actually edible? Run me through the ingredients.
So we've got wheat in there, we've got some oats in there and some rye bran. And then there's a bit of dark chocolate, a little bit of salt, a little bit of coconut oil.
I'm loving it, and what's great about that is when you list off those ingredients, they're all very complementary to the tones that you get in coffee. Dark chocolate, a little pinch of salt. It's the perfect match made in heaven.
So you can drink your coffee and then you can have a little bran cookie snack afterwards, which seems ridiculous, but it's perfectly functional. It lasts for about 8 hours in its form with a hot coffee. I'm sure you could catch a plane to Brisbane and you'll be fine.
And do you think it changes the taste or experience of coffee at all?
Definitely not.
Okay. Look at that.
Hey.
It is like a cookie. It's actually really good. I'm a fan. It's tastier than I thought. Cheers to that.
Cheers, my friend.
Thank you.
Well, Nick, the so-called blockbuster drug Ozempic is dominating headlines around the world, and the global supply issues continue. The federal government here in Australia has come down really hard on supply chains.
Yeah, it's to stop the copycat versions of Ozempic and the related drug Mount Jara being created and sold. Now, normally when there's a shortage of a prescription medication, the compounding pharmacies can step in and create their versions. But the compounded versions, they aren't subject to the same strict controls, and also not really meant to be made in commercial quantities.
The ABC's Four Corners, Nick, did an investigation into this and found some dodgy dealings in the copycat labs, leading to a change in legislation from the federal government. From October, compounding pharmacies aren't going to be allowed to make replica Ozempic drugs.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation to ask because these drugs are great for diabetes and weight loss. They might even be a clue to the obesity crisis. But with the explosion in demand, there's a shortage and there's some ethical dilemmas. Now, I'm sure most compounding pharmacists are really ethical themselves, but as you say, there have been some pretty dodgy deals going on.
As a GP, are you comfortable with these drugs being used for weight loss?
I think they're great drugs for diabetes. Their role in weight loss, it's a bit soon. I'm a bit nervous about it.
Award-winning author and scientist Tim Spector was here from the UK recently. Nick, he's all about the links between genetics and disease, the human microbiome, and here he is with our own Zoe Bingley-Pullen.
For those who don't know, can you explain the microbiome to us?
It's really the word we use for the community of all the microbes, microscopic bugs that are in your gut. And 99% of all the body's microbes are actually in the lower part of your intestine. And so it's this group of them, and they include bacteria, archaea, there's viruses in there, there's parasites, there's fungi, yeast, and they're all there, and it's that group of them, like, in a rainforest or in a garden.
So when it comes to maintaining that harmony within our microbiome, is it our genetics, epigenetics, environment?
Well, it's not the genetics. That's a really tiny part of it. And so even identical twins, as we found, have very different gut microbes. And you're born sterile. So you get quite a few microbes from the messy childbirth process. If you have a caesarean section or a natural birth, you get a slightly different mix of these bugs. And then the first 3 or 4 years of life, you're getting them from wherever, whether it's your other siblings, it's the dog licking you. Every time you take a medicine, it can change your gut microbes. Every time you get any sort of infection in life, you take antibiotics. You live in a country or you live, in a rather sterile urban environment. It's whether you're breastfed or not, all kinds of things. And that really creates this real diversity between us so that no two people really have exactly the same adult microbes.
So when we look at ailments such as diabetes or depression, how much does our gut microbiome play a role in all of this?
Hugely is the simple answer. We know at least 5 brain chemicals that our microbes actually produce. And obviously they're producing it for a reason, it's not just random. So things like serotonin, things like dopamine, there's even one called GABA, which is a relaxant that is like taking Valium. And they're all produced by our gut microbes. So that's why we know that poor diets, dysfunctional gut microbes can lead to things like depression and anxiety, and that can be reversed by a change in your diet or probiotics or, even sometimes poo transplants.
So if you're wanting to make that big change and support your microbiome and general health, where would you start?
Well, there are several broad principles, because what we want to do is to maximise the number of different species we have in our gut and increase the good bugs compared to the bad bugs. First is to eat 30 different plants a week. So you're getting plenty of variety. It's not just eating kale or spinach, it's nuts, it's seeds, it's herbs, it's spices. They're all plants. Even coffee, my favourite health drink. Each plant we eat has hundreds, if sometimes thousands of different chemicals. And our microbes are very specific. There's a microbe that only eats coffee. So that's number one. Number two is eat the rainbow, which we've known about for a long time, but we didn't really know why. It's the fact they also have a group of chemicals in them. If it's brightly coloured and it's bitter, it's going to have polyphenols.
Fabulous.
And I think this is a word we're going to hear much more about. Defence chemicals that microbes use for energy. Third is more fermented foods. Rather than just having one giant yoghurt smoothie once a week, you've got small amounts, regular and often. Then there's a couple of things to bear in mind. Give your microbes a rest. Like, we all need sleep. Sleep's hugely important for our gut health. Try and leave 12 to 14 hours where you're not eating. So cut out those late-night lamingtons, in front of the telly, They're not a good thing, because just before going to bed, really bad, and we now know why. And then finally, we should be eating more real food, whole food, and less ultra-processed, hyper-palatable food, because A, it's got fibre and it's got real structure to it that the microbes need, but also it doesn't have those extra chemicals which are having really negative effects, things like artificial sweeteners, the emulsifiers, all those things. It is an empowering message, because for so long we've been told, it's genetics, it's the fate, we're surrounded by environment, it's living in a city, it's all this stuff you can't do much about. But no, we can. And, if we all went on to an optimum diet, we would reduce common chronic disease by 70% and, save everybody a fortune as well.
Well, Darcy, we do cover the hot topics here on the House of Wellness, so here's a question for you. Self-serve supermarket checkouts, yes or no?
I always go to the cashier, Jo. I like interacting with people, and I can never get the self-serve to work, so I've always got to call someone over anyway, because bloody thing doesn't work, and then I'm interacting with someone, but I'm not happy in the first place. So I like that. But I tell you what, it's gone a step further. AI-generated shopping carts are now a thing where you don't have to go to the checkout at all.
The so-called smart carts weigh and scan the items as you're putting the items into the trolley. You tap your credit card to access the trolley, and it deducts the groceries from your account as you're going. Well, it's so interesting that the way we buy and consume food has changed so much over the generations. Now you can basically fill your fridge without interacting with a human. Remember, back in the day, we had our milk delivered to our door by a milkman.
Well, that was the healthy, simple days where it used to be milk from a cow and it was full cream. No one had done anything to it. I love those days.
Yes, it's true that now if it breathes or grows, it can basically be turned into milk. Here's Luke Hines with what milk and why.
Whether it's in your coffee, on top of your morning cereal, or simply straight up, Ellie, there's no denying that milk is a staple in nearly everybody's fridge.
It absolutely is. From pea milk, soy milk, cow's milk, to camel's milk, there's so many to choose from.
Now, I don't drink a lot of milk day to day, but I definitely love my coffee. Double shot with oat milk, but recently it's come under fire because of what it does to your blood sugar level.
Yeah, there are a couple of things to consider with oat milk. So it is the highest in carbohydrate of our dairy-free milks, which means it does create a significant blood glucose response after drinking it.
So it's pretty good that I have my oat milk latte pre and post workout, utilising those carbs and getting that energy hit. What I also love about it though is it's a lot more sustainable with less of an environmental footprint because oats are farmed sustainably in Australia.
Another pro is that it's high in minerals which support bone mineral density, which we love. The other con though is that it often contains seed oils and sugars to make it palatable. So it's really important that you're checking the ingredient panel on your milk packet to see what's in there.
I used to drink soy milk. What attracted me to it is that it was a fantastic source of plant-based protein with 9 essential amino acids, but I was really scared off it because there was all these rumours that it was bad for men's hormonal health.
Yeah, it was a very common belief, but thankfully there was a great umbrella review done in 2017 which actually uncovered that there's no concerns from a men's health point of view, and in actual fact from a women's health point of view, because of the content of soy isoflavones, which are a type of polyphenol, it can actually help reduce many of the symptoms associated with perimenopause and menopause. Soy milk, in comparison to dairy milk, is actually the most similar from a macronutrient point of view, so it's very high in protein.
When it comes to milk alternatives, you can't look past the nut variety. There's hazelnut, macadamia, but I guess the most popular out there is almond milk. They've got good monounsaturated fatty acids, which are fantastic for heart and brain health, and they're lower calorie than some of the higher fat milks that are out there.
It's also rich in vitamin E, which makes it a potent source of antioxidants. It is low in protein, which means if you're somebody who's looking to your milk as a source of protein, a child, for example, then it's not the best choice milk.
Now, this next one is going to be very new for most people's radar. Pea milk. Now, keep your mind nice and clean. Not that type of pea. We're talking yellow split peas turned into milk, Ellie.
It's actually not that surprising because a lot of the plant-based proteins these days do contain pea protein, but it is low in sodium, it's low in saturated fat, it's low in carbohydrate, which means it does actually fit the bill for a lot of dietary protocols.
We can't talk about milks without talking about the OG. Cow's milk.
Yeah, look, old school dairy milk, it is a great source of calcium, vitamin A, vitamin D, these nutrients that are really important for bone mineral density as well as dental health.
I always advise people to have the whole and real version of cow's milk if they can tolerate it. But the issue is lactose. And with lactose-free milks out there, what's the best thing for people to do?
Yeah, well, so lactose is the sugar in dairy milk. And there's about 65% of the population that have trouble digesting that lactose. So for those people, a lactose-free milk option is actually a good choice. It still contains those other nutrients that we talked about before, but it's going to be more easily digested and they're going to be grateful for that.
What's your favourite?
Yeah, so my favourite that we've talked about today is actually the soy milk. I love soy milk in my coffee in particular, but in my smoothie, I drink coconut milk. And the reason for that is because of the taste and also because I can find a really clean one really easily at my local supermarket.
When it comes to any food choice, it might come down to budget, environmental, health, and most importantly, taste. Ellie, you've been such a treat to be in the kitchen with today. I can't let you leave here without a joke, so knock, knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting cow.
Interrupting cow.
Jack, mentioned you a couple of times. My running days are over, having done my ACL twice playing football. I'm on the bike in the mornings and I love it, I have to say.
I love running. It's actually my favourite form of exercise, and I really like the fact you can do it just about anywhere and it costs nothing.
I know that keeps you really healthy, Jack, and it's something that you really love, but it's not a huge amount of exercise required to stay healthy. They say 2.5 to 5 hours a week of moderate exercise is enough to have a healthy life, and if you pick up the pace a little bit, you can almost halve that again.
Well, running, of course, requires more strength, energy and power than walking, so it's great for the heart and the lungs. I know for me, I know when I'm done, when I just can't speak anymore, I've worked so hard.
Well, I say a 5-minute run can extend your lifespan in the same way that a 15-minute walk does. So perhaps if you're a walker, you might want to pick it up and go for a run. Since becoming a personal trainer at the age of 16, Brisbane's Jacqui Bell has always been passionate about smashing her fitness goals. But in her early 20s, a string of bad luck shook up her entire life.
I was playing AFL and I broke one wrist, and it was like, okay, one injury, that's fine. But then as soon as I got that cast off, I broke my other wrist, and then it just continued on, and I broke my ankle, and then I broke 2 bones in my hand. Then I had my tonsils out, and I had these like chronic hives for 10 months, and it was just an ongoing thing of health issues. And I fell off the bandwagon. I wasn't really running or prioritising my health and fitness. It got me really, really down. There were some definitely really dark times. That's when I had to really think about what would help pull me out of this. And I think that it was running that I kind of just turned to and decided that that was going to be the answer.
By competing in a series of marathons, Jacqui fell back in love with fitness and never looked back. Before too long, she had set her sights on a much bigger personal goal.
I saw a YouTube video of one of my good friends now, Andrew, and he was running 250k across the Simpson Desert. And I guess that kind of planted a seed in my mind that I thought it looked really cool and like a good challenge.
At just 23 years of age, Jacqui signed up to compete in not 1, but 4 international ultra marathons.
So the first 4 that I did was in a series called Racing the Planet, and they're 4 of supposedly the harshest deserts in the world. So the hottest desert in Namibia, the windiest in Mongolia, the Gobi Desert, then it was the driest in Chile, the Atacama Desert, and then Antarctica.
Race number 1, we're doing 43 kilometres today.
Means that you're running for about 6 days, and it's about 50 kilometres a day, and the kicker is on about day 4, where it's a double marathon day, about 80k, and that's the day that really tests you.
Absolutely shattered. 60 kilometres into 84, and I'm just like, no.
I thought that I knew what I was getting myself in for, but I don't think I did. I had about 8 months worth of training to build up for it, but when I still got to that first race, my body hit a bit of a wall at about, or a bit of a wall, my body hit a hell of a wall at about 180k in, and yeah, it was very tough.
Feeling pretty good.
I guess that's the real thing in these races, is that's when your mindset really kicks in and you're tested, because you have to really crush that negative voice, and you have to just ignore these thoughts of thinking you're not going to be able to complete it, or maybe the voice telling you you're going to fail or something, and yeah, you just have to kind of keep pushing through. After about 2 of them, I thought, I'm absolutely insane, and these are really hurting. It was hard. They were really hard, and I didn't know how I was going to make it through the first 4. But then after I did the 3rd one, then the 4th one, I found that I was really like falling in love with the racing and everything about it.
After going the distance at 2 more ultra marathons in New Zealand and Iceland, Jacqui ran 273 kilometres across the Grand Canyon in the US.
I guess it escalated quite quickly from watching a YouTube video and wanting to run one of them to then, yeah, 7.
Making her the youngest woman to run an ultra marathon on all 7 continents.
I don't know if it ever really sunk in, or it still has. I kind of just set a goal and I was working towards it, and then I'd set a new goal and kind of just keep working towards that. And it felt good to have, you know, this almighty personal challenge. And yeah, I don't think I ever really sat back and was like, oh wow, record holder. Like, yeah. I've definitely taken away the mindset thing from the races because, you know, I might wake up one morning and not feel like doing life that day or doing what's on the agenda for the day. But I just have to kind of crush that and get on with the day.
One of the golden rules for hair care is to use a conditioner. And this is especially true for our hair today with all we put it through. Blow drying, styling, brushing, teasing, colouring, the list goes on. Introducing the Hask Argan Oil 5-in-1 leave-in spray. As the name hints, it delivers 5 benefits in just one bottle. It conditions and detangles, adds shine, repairs, controls frizz, provides thermal protection and moisturizes to prevent breakage. Formulated with argan oil from Morocco, the spray penetrates the hair shaft, repairing damage and increasing the hair's elasticity. Dry strands are packed with moisturizing and conditioning agents. All you have to do is shake well before using, spray generously onto wet or dry hair, and then comb through. There's no need to rinse, simply style as you desire. I am one of those people that if my hair looks good, I feel good, and I don't think I'm the only one. This is why I love the beauty world. It provides us with so many solutions to make us feel confident every single day.
Thanks to Jade there for some hair care tips, especially for winter, which can be a challenging time for hair, Jack.
I agree. My hair gets very brittle, but to be honest, if it doesn't totally snap off in winter, I'm happy.
Well, here we are talking about the beauty industry again, and this time is the endless quest for the fountain of youth. And whether or not you actually wish to look younger, there are some amazing innovations happening. In Cambridge, scientists have discovered a way to make skin cells act 3 decades younger in a process they're calling genetic rejuvenation. What do you think?
Oh, it's amazing, isn't it? 3 decades younger. I'd look 10. Fabulous. But it's amazing. Just looking at the advances in skincare, it's so hard to keep up.
Oh, it really is true. I tell you what, I always feel like if I eat well, it shows on my skin. Do you find that?
Yes, especially if you cut out alcohol. I think I noticed that.
Yeah, but what's the cost? Anyway, here is dermatologist Ryan De Cruz to tell us why sometimes even our skin needs feeding too.
Retinol is a purified form of vitamin A. It's found naturally in foods that we eat, but it's also found in skincare. We know that retinol has some of the most amount of research to prove its beneficial effects in the skin. It helps cellular turnover, which means that the skin cells shed off or slough off, revealing lighter, brighter skin cells. And retinol can directly target oil glands to help reduce their overactivity, so particularly helpful in patients who have oily skin or acne-prone skin. Finally, retinol helps stimulate collagen and elastin fibres, which therefore increase skin thickness, smoothing out fine lines and wrinkles. Retinol is generally used just at night because it can actually be inactivated by daylight. When incorporating retinol into a skincare routine, it's important that it's applied to clean skin, so after cleansing, and can be used either before or after the application of a moisturiser. It is important, however, to remember that retinols can be drying and irritating, so you shouldn't rush through application of a retinol, and certainly you don't need to use it every night from the very start. Retinol can come in different strengths, so starting off with a lower strength retinol, particularly if you have sensitive skin, is a good place to start. We generally give a retinol at least 8 to 12 weeks of regular usage before you might notice its benefits. So if you aren't seeing improvement after a month, that doesn't mean the retinol's not working, it just needs more time.
A lot of nutrients are responsible for keeping us healthy and well. And thankfully, most are abundant in a variety of delicious fresh foods, except one, vitamin D. Vitamin D is often nicknamed the sunshine vitamin, as it's produced within the skin when exposed to sunlight. It may come as a surprise that despite living in a beautiful sunny country, almost 1 in 3 Australians don't get enough vitamin D in winter, when we may be spending less time outdoors. An essential nutrient, vitamin D is important for supporting bone strength and supporting our general health and well-being. The body also needs vitamin D to absorb another key bone health nutrient, calcium. To help ensure we are maintaining sufficient levels of vitamin D, especially in winter, supplementation may be an option. Australia's #1 bone health and vitamin D brand, Austellan recognises the importance of looking after our bones, providing products to best support them. The Austellan Vitamin D3 capsules help maintain adequate vitamin D levels in the body through simply taking a 1-a-day, easy-to-swallow capsule. Winter is a magical time of year. Cosy jumpers, warm drinks. You wouldn't ordinarily be prompted to think of bone health. But considering they help keep us moving, provide structure for the body, and protect vital organs, looking after our bones seems like a small investment for a big reward.
Our favourite things on the House of Wellness are food and a feel-good story, and Das, an incredible program in India, is combining both.
And Northern India, Joe, is the home to the famous Golden Temple, which is important to the Sikh community and hosts the world's largest community kitchen.
Where they serve 100,000 free hot meals every day, 7 days a week.
The Sikh community are known for their selfless service and are constantly looking for acts of generosity and charity. So everyone is welcome to the Golden Temple in Northern India without discrimination, and everyone is treated equally.
It's beautiful. Lentil dal and roti are served regularly. Very lovely, delicious options now that the weather is getting cooler. But the chilly months doesn't mean you have to say goodbye to salads. Here's Zoe with a winter warmer that is served cold.
When it comes to salads, the only limitation is your imagination. And my yogurt marinated chicken with beetroot and quinoa salad is proof that opposites really do attract. Start with the chicken marinade. I'm loving the punchy mix of warm spices. Ginger, garlic, turmeric and cumin. Too much on their own, but paired with the sweetness of honey, flavour harmony. Adding natural yogurt gives coolness to the marinade and tenderises the chicken. Plus, it contains good bacteria as it's a fermented food. Pop some marinade aside to repurpose as a salad dressing and let the mix sit for a few hours. I'm char grilling the chicken today, but oven baking works just as well. Time for part 2, the salad, where everything but coriander and pepitas go into a saucepan. Minimal prep, but maximum flavour. The earthy sweetness of the beetroot matches the nutty undertones of the quinoa. And my secret ingredient, orange juice. You can't pass up a bit of citrusy goodness. Bring it all to the boil and simmer until the quinoa is soft and the liquid is absorbed. Then plate it up. This dish ticks all the boxes: health, versatility, simplicity. Oh. But who am I kidding? Taste is #1. Get Nourished is brought to you by Swiss Wellness. Support healthy digestion and maintain general health and well-being with Swiss Ultrabiotic Daily Digestive Probiotic, a fridge-free probiotic.
King's birthday weekend is coming up, and my mind immediately turns to AFL legend Neil Daniher and his remarkable fight to find a cure for motor neurone disease. It's the 10th annual anniversary of the Big Freeze at the G. It's Collingwood in Melbourne at the MCG. It's one of the highlights of the AFL calendar and always inspired by Neil Daniher.
As you said, Dars, Neil Danaher is the face and the heart and soul of the Fight MND Army. And to join the Army, all you need to do is buy a beanie. And you know what? I don't think it would be a weekend in June without them.
And the incredible interest and awareness generated by events like this has made a huge difference to MND. Since 2014, Fight MND has invested over $85 million looking at ways to find cures and also help those suffering from the disease. And it's all due to the funds donated by you.
And in life, actions always speak louder than words, as Neil Danaher has showed us. And this year's catchphrase for the campaign is don't say, do.
When there's nothing left to say, it's what we do that matters. And in 10 years of fighting MND, this man has done a lot.
He's done it for the thousands of Aussies suffering with MND every day.
It takes a team to beat this beast.
So don't say, do.
I do.
I do.
We do.
The question I'm going to leave you with is, well, what are you going to do?
Team up for Big Freeze 10 and buy a beanie to do your bit.
So don't say, just do in life, as Neil Danaher has shown us. Get behind the Big Freeze campaign. Buy a beanie. It is Melbourne and Collingwood at the MCG. And you are a fanatical Pies supporter,
I am,
Jo.
yes.
Got a habit of winning big games, your Pies, and I think they might do it again.
Well, if this season is anything to go by, it'll probably be a draw. But, you know, whatever happens, it is such a great treat to be a part of that day.
That's all we've got time for today. Thanks to Dr. Nick Carr, to Jacqui Felgate, to Jo Stanley.
Make sure you check out House of Honest Radio every Sunday with Gerald Quigley and Luke Hines.
Big thanks to our friends at Chemist Warehouse. It's bye for now.